G'day, Steve Morgan here, ABT and Fishing Monthly magazines. Bet you thought I missed Tackle Fridays, but we had a big day today. It was a pre-fish day for the Glen Maggie Bass Pro. Got a lot of work done. I didn't actually go pre-fishing. We got the briefing set up, briefing done, tackle organised. Big day, and I finally remembered we're going to do Tackle Fridays. So I thought I spent 3 days at Blue Rock during the week fishing nearly exclusively crankbaits and topwater. We've come across to Glen Maggie Dam, and it's all about dirty water in here. It looks pretty coffee out there. I don't think the top water is really going to play, but I think the crankbaits here are going to play. So I might run through what I've got rigged up for the bass fishing here on Lake Glen Maggie in Victoria and how it's sort of evolved to where it is. Just went through all the stats from Blue Rock, caught 52 fish at the Blue Rock event. On day one, they were small, fork length, 22, 23, 23, 23, 23. So, tip length nearly legal, limit of around a kilo. It's on the app, so you don't put the fish in the live well. So embarrassingly small limit was coming right at the bottom of the field. Day two, refined the crankbait patterns and got my limit up to 2 kilos. So I doubled my limit and moved up to about 13th place in the end. And only really small adjustments I made to what I was doing make a fair bit of difference. Now, one thing that helps me dial into these things, of course, is my Garmin live scope, so I can see how deep the fish are sitting and how they react to some of the lures. And there you go. Just because you can see the fish come nearly last in the tournament and make the adjustments, still don't catch the same size fish as everyone else. So if you're sitting there thinking live scope makes you win every tournament, everyone's got it. You still have someone that comes first and someone who comes last. But I'm going to run through some of the crankbaits that I'm using and then how that relates to what I've got set up for Glen Maggie here. Haven't been on the water in Glen Maggie for 2 years. Last year I was really crook during the tournament. Didn't even get out of bed for the 3 days I was here. It was pretty crook. So I'm going on a tournament from a couple of years ago with a lot more information, I suppose, at my fingertips now, and I'm more confident, I think, that I can break down the water a lot easier. For me, the crankbait bite of Blue Rock was all about finding rough concentrations of fish and putting a crankbait in their face for long enough so that they would eat it. At Blue Rock, I started on the edges with small crankbaits. The one I've got here, this is a Jackal Chubby Minnow. I've got here, that's not the colour I was using, but it's one of the last ones that I've got left there. Fishing the edges, caught heaps and heaps of those really small fish doing it, and worked out that they really like to crankbait through it on the same as on this rod here. That's 3 pound straight through brim line, basically, just for that finesse and to get the lure a little bit deeper. Didn't catch any kicker fish at all, really. And for me, I think a kicker fish in Blue Rock's anything over 30 centimetres. In fact, this year, the entire field caught 90 fish over that 30 centimetre mark. So what did I do at Blue Rock to try and change things? Well, firstly, I set up a crankbait with one of Matt Fraser's chin nuts on it. So I've got this one here. This is an Eco Gear SX40, and this is coming into the Eco Gear round here. And it's got one of the heavier chin nuts on it there. A decoy number 12 treble on the back, and this is on some of my 4 pound straight through. So this crankbait will sink. So I was finding fish were around that 15 to 20 foot mark. In 20 foot of water, they'd suspended around that 15 foot mark. If I sink that down, I could slow roll that at that 12 to 13 foot mark. That was exactly the right area to get the bites. When I tried that at Blue Rock, it wasn't as effective because I think it wasn't loud and bright enough. So I found on the second day, I went to this. Firstly, I threw this on my BFS rod in the shallows, caught a few fish on it. But then when I found some suspending fish out wide, I moved to this crankbait here. This is a OSP Tiny Blitz, and it's in chartreuse colour. It's sort of, Blue Rock wasn't crystal clear. It was clear enough, but it had that bit of a stain to the water as well. And I really think that fish like that chartreuse colour when the water's a little bit dirty. So this one here on the 3 pound straight through on my diver rod, that's my 752, the lightest in feet Daiwa brim rod that I use. I could throw that with the wind a mile and I could get that down 14 to 15 feet. So I could get that lure right in their faces, and it could be in their face for 30 to 40 metres during a retrieve. Now, I published my highlights from Blue Rock yesterday. They're up on the YouTube channel. There's a couple of, right at the end, there's a couple of fish. As soon as I swapped to that, that I was catching. I actually caught 2 upgrades or 3 upgrades, I think, in 3 casts on that one when I got onto the pattern. Then the battery ran out of the camera. Long story, but anyway, that adjustment was great, and ended up catching 26 fish for the day, mainly on the top water early, and then that OSP crankbait later on. So coming to Glen Maggie here, word has it that there are more legal bass in here. They might be spread out more, but there are more fish over that 30 centimetre mark. Now, Doc talk today in the pre-fish was that that not many people caught many. First thing, after fishing tournaments for 20 years, don't believe anything anyone says the day before a tournament. There's probably guys there that caught plenty of decent ones. But secondly, this place has had a lot of water run into it, a few floods over summertime. So that water is a little bit off-coloured, and the fish sort of could be anywhere. So my plan tomorrow off the bat is to try and find these sort of scattered fish, hopefully at the same sort of depth, that 15-foot mark, and try the bigger, louder crankbaits on light line to get them down and cover that water. If I can see them loosely aggregating on the live scope, at least I know I'm throwing in the right angle, right areas to get them. So a couple I've got rigged up here. I call this one the ugly crank. This is a hide up 100 deep, and it's in that chartreuse colour. Joey Urquhart got me onto that for a Richmond River comp years ago, and it's sort of worked all over the joint. Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, they love it. That's on the little stees, the Daiwa Infree BFS there. So that's a crankbait. I reckon I can get that down with 8-pound leader and 8-pound braid on that. I reckon I can get that down 10 to 12 feet as well in that bright orange colour. But also I've got this one's rigged up. This is also 712. This is the general purpose in feet rod here. Got some 8-pound of the 8-pound Daiwa braid, some 6-pound leader, and another one of those hide up the 150s, or 100 150s. Might be 150s. But that fella there in more of a redfin sort of colour, which is one of the prey species that I have in here. Again, trying to get it to that certain depth. Now, I've got other rods rigged up in the boat, but I've really had that focus on crankbaits this week, and the crankbaits have been what's worked at Blue Rock. So I'm going to try and expand that pattern tomorrow. Got a couple of non-boaters for the next couple of days. Got Lee Mirams, who's I think a local here. He might have an idea on exactly where to fish. I've got my ideas on where I want to start, but if we're struggling, I'm definitely listening to what Lee's got to say, and we can go from there. I should be able to be live tomorrow. So on Saturday and Sunday for the 2 days, it's not my specialty, Victorian bass fishing, but I will go live and you can see the successes as well as the failures. If we have cool live scope stuff happening, I'll be able to plug the live scope in and embed that in the feed. At Blue Rock, it was patchy, the reception in some areas. It never really looked like it was any good stuff happening, but I'll make an endeavour tomorrow to get the live scope up on the screen and show it on the live feed, if that's what's going to make the coverage a little bit better. We're based out of the Glen Maggie Powerboat Club, which is across the dam here from the Airbnb we're in at the moment. And they're a great crew, cook up breakfast for you in the morning. We can use their clubhouse. So on a windy, nasty day like today, we had a great place for the briefing and the presentation for Blue Rock. We're going to take these rigs out, going to put them in the boat, going to get to sleep because the sun's going to get up in a few hours, and we're going to get up with it and see if I can get a badge in a bass event this year. I fished all 6 qualifiers last year in the bass, 0 top 10s. The only time I did well in the bass was in the Australian Open, which, let's face it, not a bad event to do well in, but the aim this year, 1 top 10 in a qualifier. Let's see if we can do it. I'll see you live tomorrow. Come on. Get them out of there with the flies.